Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Velocity channel, where this is your bridge to financial freedom. Today we want to make sure that we are not only paying off our cash flow sucking auto loans, personal loans, student loans, but we want to make sure that we are optimizing the cash flow that we have. And that's going to start by knowing how to operate our credit lines, knowing how to operate our credit cards. All of that and more is coming really soon. However, I'm going to need you to do something for me. Like, share, and subscribe so that everyone around the world can know the power of Velocity banking. Are you ready? Well, let's go. So the first thing we need to realize is we need to be mindful of consolidating our high interest debt. So if you're carrying debt on multiple high interest accounts like personal loans, store cards, consider transferring these balances to maybe a single low interest or 0% introductory rate credit card or credit line, all right? You don't want to necessarily do the consolidation loans unless they're a really good loan. Why? Because loans are calculated differently than credit lines, and we're actually gonna show you what we mean by that. Now, believe it or not, you can use cash advances to do Velocity banking, but you got to use them wisely, all right? They should be used mindfully due to their, of course, high fees and interest rates. However, in many cases where you need immediate cash for debt repayment, it can and is an option. And most of the time, you'll find out, wait a minute, even these high fees, right, and these interest rates is actually still better than if I would have paid my loan the traditional banking way. You'll find out that you'll actually save a whole lot in interest even when using cash advances. This is actually something we stress all the time, and that is make more than the minimum payments. Listen, when you're placing your whole paycheck inside of your credit line, are you making more than minimum payments? Absolutely. So always aim to pay more than that minimum payment on your credit card balance. What this does is it reduces the principal faster and actually decreases the amount of interest you'll pay over time. You remember that video where that lady was having the minimum monthly payment of $28, but only $9 was going to the principal of $4,000. Utilize balance transfers. Many credit cards offer balance transfer options with low or zero interest rates for an introductory period. So take advantage of these offers, but be mindful of any transfer fees and make sure you can pay off the balance before that promotional period ends. And remember, the transfer fees are nothing really to the Velocity banker who knows what they're doing and has a plan to eliminate that debt, not on the bank's plan, but on a better plan. All right, so let me show you what I'm talking about when I'm talking about consolidating high interest debt. Let's start all the way from the beginning and go through, take you step by step so that you can implement this today. Here we go. So we have the loans, right? They're personal loans. And one loan is $5,000 at 10%. We got another loan at $5,000 at 20%. I don't know if this other loan place hates us, or perhaps we got this loan, credit score went down, and so that interest rate goes up. Do you see how that works? There's a relation between that credit score going down and that interest rate going up. So anyway, $106 each month to this loan, right? And this is how it's getting split up. That $106 is not going towards the principal. $64 is going towards the principal. And of course the bank says, thank you very much, $42 for us. And so in the next loan, $5,000 at 20%, we got $132 each and every month. How is that $132 being split up? Well, the higher the interest rate, the more the bank gets, all right? So interest is $83. The bank says, thank you very much. And the principal is $49. And so in month one, we are paying more in interest for the 20% one. And so that's okay, right? Because now we know how to use our line of credit over here. And even though we see these interest rates, both on the personal loans of 10% and even 20%, one would ask the question, CJ, why in the world would I use a line of credit that's at 21%? That's actually higher than both of my loans, right? Which are at this time personal loans. Well, this is why. Is there a difference between Fahrenheit and Celsius? Of course, there is. But what is the difference? How they're calculated. My goodness, you guys are a smart crew here, all right? So look, it's the same with the lines of credit and the loans. The difference will save your life. You look at the loans and man, you don't like seeing those high numbers. Well, on the line of credit line, the higher this number is, of course, it does reflect on your credit score, but you don't have to be as concerned with the lines of credit as you are with the loans. Why? Because of the word amortization. A-M-O-R-T-I-Z-A-T-I-O-N. You see, on the loans, you have a regular payment and it doesn't matter the principal that you put, right? Let's say you wanted to put $1,000 down or $1,000 payment. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to split that payment up. But if you say, hey, I want $1,000 to the principal, then they're going to go ahead and place that to the principal, of course, all right? And of course, it depends on the lender. So this is what we want to do. We want to get rid of this because we know the calculation for simple interest for the line of credit is going to be way less than the loans because of that amortization concept, right? So one end is open-ended, okay? The other one is closed-ended, okay? Very important concept to remember. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the loans right here. So we're going to deploy this $10,000 with the 21%, and we're going to say, you know what? Bye-bye. Then we're going to come all the way down here, and we're going to cross that out as well. Why would we want to do that with a 21% line of credit? Why? Because of this. Now keep in mind, remember, you can also use your credit cards as well. I was actually talking to a wonderful couple the other day. They were talking about how they have access checks and they can actually pay from these access checks, and that credit can come from the credit cards onto these different purchases. Very wise, okay? So let's use the cash advances wisely, right? So this is what we'll do. We, having been paid each month $5,000 a month, and of course, let's say we have the $3,000 in expenses. That leaves us with $2,000, doesn't it? Now, where should we place that $2,000? Should we place it inside of a bank that is draining the money because of the devaluing of the dollar, or should we put this money to work for us? Let's put the money to work for us. Let's see what that comes to, all right? $10,000, let's just say you have a balance of $10,000. What we're going to do is put that right here. That's your balance. But remember, you're going to be using your line of credit as your new checking account. So as you do that, the money comes in, and of course the $3,000 goes out because we are subtracting that. But the $2,000 stays in there, and it's actually paying off that line of credit. So see how it's not like a loan? You don't have to worry about the minimum monthly payment at all. That minimum monthly payment you are in possession of, right? The same amount that you put towards that line of credit, you can now have access to, all right? And there are some bankers that don't understand this, and that's okay, right? Sometimes we have to talk to our bankers. Sometimes we have to explain the concept to them, all right? That's okay. We can do that. And so 10,000 divided by 2,000 is what? 5, and that means it's going to take us 5 months to get up out of that line of credit. Oh, and by the way, since we consolidated our $10,000, the 5,000 and the 5,000 loans, we're actually out of that loan in 5 months completely, right? We were actually out of that loan the minute we signed that check, right? The minute we said, hey, you know, let's go ahead and pay this off with our line of credit, doing a balance transfer even though the bank that we had the loan with thinks of it as a payment, right? We got to change our vernacular, and that's okay, all right? So 5 months, we're done with the $10,000. That means we have no personal loans. That means we have no lines of credit. But believe it or not, that's a bad thing, because you got money sitting there doing nothing. But what you need to do is now let's go towards the assets. Or you can get a car. All right, so this is what we're talking about, all right? We're going to make sure that we are utilizing this concept. We got to make more than the minimum monthly payments. Because if we make more than the minimum monthly payments, yes, you're going to go ahead and pay it off in 6 years, right? The loan term on this auto loan is 6 years. You will be paying it off in 6 years, and the bank will have your hard-earned thousands of dollars that's actually avoidable, all right? You don't have to give the bank as much as they want. Let me show you how. $30,000 at 10%, okay? $637 each and every month. That's how they want you paying, okay? The interest and the principal, look at how it's divided up. More going towards the interest, especially in month 1, than the principal. That's not what we want. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to deploy our $10,000 that we have saved up in a checking account or a savings account, all right? Or even, whatever account that you have. We're going to use that as a deployment account to get rid of this big principal, because we would rather the 10% chew on the smaller principal, like $20,000 or $10,000 or $0,000, than the $30,000. So what we're going to do is deploy it. $10,000, boom, right to the $30,000. What does that do? Well, that leaves us with this, $20,000 at 10%, okay? So what does that look like? Well, it looks like this, okay? At 10%, what is the amortization table on that? How many months did we skip ahead? Let me show you that. Look at that. Month 23. Look at how much is going towards the interest. Look at how much is going towards the principal on the first day. The first day. $172 goes towards the interest, $465 to the principal. So you see that right away, you're jumping ahead 23 months, almost 2 years. And you're giving the bank less while you are putting more towards that loan. That's why Velocity Banking works. We're making sure that we're taking advantage of time and balance, and we're not just looking at the interest rate. Okay, this 10%, guys, 10% of 10,000 is going to be less than 10% of 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Does that make sense? And so we want you to catch that concept each and every time that we deploy that $10,000, and you know how it's replenished, right? By the $2,000, because we're using that as our new checking account, right? The $5,000 is going in, $3,000 is going out. How many months is that going to take us to replenish that $10,000? All right, yeah, 5 months. Now, what do we do with the $10,000? We deploy it again and again and again. All right, so let's go ahead and deploy this until that is all gone. Does that make sense? All right, so look, if you have any questions, don't hesitate, right? You can do this with the credit that you have right now, with the money that you have right now. Even if you're negative cash flowing, let's set up a plan for you to do this same thing. All right, we got one more here for you. Watch this. So how do we best utilize the balance transfers? Whenever they have that introductory period, we want to make sure we're utilizing it to the best of our ability. Do you remember when we came across those personal loans, each worth $5,000, and we paid them off very quickly because of the line of credit? Well, if you have some loans, you can do the same thing, right, with your line of credit that is divided up. Let's say it's not a $10,000, but you get an offer in the mail of $5,000 and another $5,000 offers in the mail, 0%. And this 0% is what? 12. It's going to last for 12 months. It's going to last for 18 months. I think they haven't been even 24 and beyond. Amazing deals. So what you want to do is you want to transfer those balances into what? The lines of credit. And so let's go on top of traditional banking, shall we? Then what we want to do is use our line of credit as our velocity banking tool so that we pay this line of credit off much sooner, and it didn't even cost us any interest. Watch this. Since they sent you the offers in the mail, right? They sent you the offer in the mail. This is money that you did not have to work for. Let that sink in. So you just got free money, right? If you use this and this as your new checking account, how much did you have to pay? Now remember, 0%, okay? How much did you have to pay to get rid of those loans? Because remember, this $5,000 has a balance now because you transferred that loan over there. This $5,000 has a balance now, right? Because you transferred the loan to the line of credit. Because this you used as your line of credit, and you are still at a 0% interest rate. That is velocity banking. So as you can see, all you got to do is work with what you have. Make sure that you have a plan. If you have the debt avalanche, if you have the debt snowball, that's fine. Turn it into a debt blizzard, right? By combining it with velocity banking, you're going to see all of those monthly payments go towards you instead of towards them. Folks, if you have any questions, please click on the first line of the description below. We want to see you. We want to see what you're doing now and where you want to be, and we want to close that gap. Please let us know. God bless you, and you have a great night.